All right, welcome back and thanks for staying with us. And if you are just joining us, this is VOP This Morning on Voice of the People Television. Once again, we wish you happy Boxing Day. Now, we have information before we get into our major topic of discussion. President Donald Trump says the U.S. military has carried out deadly airstrikes against ISIS, that is ISIS targets in northwest Nigeria. In a Christmas Day post on X, Trump claimed the terror group had been targeting and killing Christians and said the strikes were ordered in response. He warned that the attacks were the result of what he described as continued violence against innocent civilians, adding that the U.S. will act decisively against terrorism. Now, there has been no independent confirmation of the operation as at press time, as we are announcing this. Well, more than a month after pupils of St. Mary's Catholic schoolgirls were abducted, the Catholic Diocese of Kontagoro has formally brought closure to the incident, confirming that all affected pupils and staff have been rescued. The diocese said the pupils were reunited with their families following a detailed reconciliation exercise. In a statement on Thursday signed by the Bishop of Kontagora, Most Reverend Bolus Dawa Yohana, the diocese disclosed that a final verification confirmed that 230 pupils and staff members were abducted during the attack in Agwara local government area of Niger State and have since regained their freedom. The diocese explained that the reconciliation process was necessary to address public concerns and conflicting figures that emerged in the immediate aftermath of the November 21 abduction, which occurred amid panic and confusion. Meanwhile, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has confirmed attacks against Christians in Nigeria, describing the alleged displacement and violence as unacceptable and calling for an immediate end to what he termed militant assaults on Christian communities. Speaking as Israel's Prime Minister in the holidays addressed to Christians worldwide, he warned that persecution based on religion cannot be justified anywhere. Well, we've been joined in the studio here by Mr. Somi Oranta to help us make sense of this. Mr. Oranta is a philosopher, he's an entrepreneur, author, and public affairs analyst. Good morning to you, Mr. Sonny Oranta.
Good morning, my brother. Good morning.
Happy Boxing Day.
Yeah, we start boxing or what? Okay, I can see the gift.
Okay, you can see the gift. That box is for you. Please, you go with it when you are leaving.
Oh, yeah, that's great, man.
Beautiful.
I've actually not received any gifts.
Don't worry, this is your first gift. This is your first gift. Mr. Oranta, thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Now, we heard that like about a month or so ago, we heard guns are blazing. And now, this morning, Nigerians woke to the fact that Trump said, look, guns have started blazing in Nigeria, northwest, and that have hit ISIS targets. Mm-hmm. What's your reaction to that?
You know, this life is a very deep place. We are not just physical beings, having an occasional spiritual experience, but we are spiritual beings having a physical experience. So every action of man, we don't need God to come and start. The subconscious, every human being has the subconscious essence that documents everything that we do, even in our deepest secret, in our closet. So, these terrorists promised Nigerians that they are going to give us a Christmas present, that they are going to destroy, they are going to deal with Christians, they are going to bomb churches and all that, and the whole country. In fact, there were churches were asked not to hold crossover services. A lot of things, precautions, were issued out. Do you know, it now happened that the Americans, their bombs and guns came ablazing in the area where that girl was killed, Deborah Samuel.
Yes.
You see how nemesis, the law of cause and effect, operates in our lives. So, it's a great news.
Okay.
It's a great news because our system has proven incapable of handling the situation.
Okay.
What you cannot do, when somebody wants to help you, you have to take it. And in this case, you don't have a choice.
Okay, you don't.
After all, Nigeria went to other areas, other people's countries, to carry out actions which they deemed okay.
To save people.
In this case, Nigerians are dying in the days, in their numbers. And these people, they are so audacious when they talk about it. They do videos, And Nigeria was telling us, say, we want to ask social media
to bring down their
Can
handles.
you imagine?
Okay.
So mundane discussion, so illogical. They're talking about something.
Mr. Ranta, don't you think that the Nigerian government, working in collaboration with the United States, use that as a distraction, to take away, their attention from?
Let me tell you the truth. Let me tell you the truth. I may not confirm this truth 100%, but right inside of me, okay, I know that the actions of America, they didn't carry Nigerian government along. If they had done that, the thing would have been leaked.
Okay, but we have a major media house report that, look, it is Nigeria and US, that did the bombing.
When the Department of War issued statement, did they say it's a joint operation? They didn't say so.
Would have been seen the US government sending their person to come have a renegotiation or maybe a discussion with the Nigerian government. We saw that also played out in Abuja. The back and forth, the meetings that were being held, even the Riley Moore who came into Nigeria to check out things. Don't you think that the attack or the launch was
might have actually been a collaboration?
Yes.
Well, I still do not believe it that there's a collaboration to that extent. Look, there are things. The Americans are not fools now. During the time of Jonathan, look at how many years ago.
Okay.
They made plans and they divulged that plan to the Nigerian security authorities, and that plan was passed immediately.
Okay, and it leaked.
To the people, and it leaked.
Okay. Now, Mr. Uranta, before we go to our virtual guests, we've been joined by two of our virtual guests. I would like to ask you this question. Did you believe when Trump said all of these things, and at a point it looks like there was a law, a lot of people believe that days, or a week after Trump said guns are blazing, that he was going to do it. At that point, did you believe that Trump was going to come to Nigeria to do something? Were you convinced, or do you think that he was just giving out sound bites?
Let me tell you, I have been reading Donald Trump 15 years before he became president.
Okay.
He's a man that does what he said he will do. He means what he said and says what he meant. He's not a man that bluffs.
Okay, so you didn't wish it away. You knew.
I knew he was going to act.
Especially when he asked the Department of War, Hexet, to prepare for war.
Even when he asked the legislature to give legal bites to that statement, I knew. In fact, the moment he mentioned it, I knew it was going to happen. Trump is not a man that says something and starts doing something else. No. Okay, now we'll come back to you shortly. When we are going to talk about what some people have termed the economic aspects of this strike and this intervention or interference or involvement or collaboration between Nigeria and the United States of America. Good morning to you, Barrister Eze Luche. We've been joined by Barrister Eze Luche. He is a barrister at, he's an attorney, legal, luminary, and political affairs analyst.
Good morning, my brother.
Good to have you, Happy Boxing Day. Good to have you. How have you been?
No, we're cool. We're cool. In the East, it's bustling, so beautiful to be home, and it's wonderful.
Okay, beautiful, beautiful. So now you are speaking from Owerri. Before we get into this conversation, I'd like for you to, give us a feel, of what is going on in Owerri. Are houses locked? Are the streets empty? Are people scared? When people walk the streets of Owerri, what do they feel? The streets of Imo State, is it some kind of safety or a sign of surrender? What sense does it look like to you?
Well, the place is safe. It's bustling. It's the Christmas festivities are all over. Masquerades are dancing everywhere in the communities that have masquerades. Church ceremonies are taking place. So the East, Owerri in particular, is very peaceful. And I will invite everybody to come over. Have a feel of the place. For a very long time, what has been happening in the Southeast has been orchestrated, externally orchestrated. And most of us here feel that even the security agencies, the government security agencies and their mercenaries, particularly Asai Dokubo and his people, have been part of the nonsense. But the people have come back and they are in full control of their place now. So there is even no space for any funny things to happen. The indoor where I fully on ground.
All right. Beautiful. But Barrister Eze Luche, I'd like for you to, to react to the information we have this morning that, look, United States has hit some ISIS targets in parts of the Northwest. Did it come to you as a surprise?
Certainly not. Certainly not. You see, the U.S. is a process-driven country. They announce policy and allow the process to roll out. and then mark out their targets and hit them at will. That is what has happened now. A few weeks back, some people were saying that it was all bluster, that after the visa ban on Nigerians, the US government has shown that it really had no interest in any part of Nigeria. But the reality is this: the entire world has a duty to protect, a responsibility to protect where people have been almost killed on a daily basis by terrorists and by their own security agencies. So I was not surprised in any way whatsoever, and I actually expect more. I expect more in the sense that there is this claim by the government that they were part of it, they were all that stuff. We know this just being politically correct. I mean, if they had told the Nigerian authorities what they were going to do, all the terrorists will leave that place.
Okay.
And then the question now is, should be addressed to the Sultan of Sokoto, who claims to be the Lord and Master of the entire Sokoto Caliphate. Was the Sultan aware of the presence of this ISIS in his territory? What has Sultan Said done to restrain these killers from operating from Sokoto? If he is part of it, if in any way he's found to be complicit in the presence of these criminal elements, then perhaps there should be more direct efforts to curtail the excesses of the Sultan.
Okay.
Because on several occasions, this same Sultan has come out blazing and making so much noise. Now the terrorists are in his domain and he's not done much. That is what I want to say.
Okay, now, Barrister Eluche, you understand that I would like for us to talk about the implication of this. Do you think that this strike is going to bring peace and lasting peace, if I may say? I ask that in the light of the fact that a certain cleric, an affiliate, somebody who is known, to be an intermediary between Nigerians, or so to say, between the terrorists and the government at some point, talking about Sheikh Ahmad Gumi. He was on this station the other time and he said, look, if Donald Trump as much as touches one of these bandits or terrorists, that the terrorists and the bandits who are Muslims were going to unleash mayhem on Christians. Do you see that coming? And if that happens, do you think that America's involvement is going to bring lasting peace in Nigeria? Or is it going to make Nigeria unravel like places like Afghanistan, places like Yemen, where you have sectarian war, or places like Iraq and all of that? Do you think it's going to bring lasting peace?
Now, I have very many Muslim friends, and nobody wants terrorists in his domain. So characters like Sheikh Gumi were talking absolute nonsense. And the more he talks, the more he makes himself complicit in this criminality. So let him come out and unleash that mayhem, and he will see the stars that he deserves. In fact, the inability of the Nigerian government to curtail such elements is what makes some of us believe that the Nigerian government and collaborating with these terrorists. If a country like Saudi Arabia, the bastion of Islam, can deny Gumi entry visa, why must Nigeria tolerate such characters, such criminal elements? And when you say it's a go between the government and the terrorists, that's not true. The man is in fact, he's in bed with terrorists. He collects money on their behalf. He is, by what he does, a terrorist. The fact that this government continues to tolerate such elements makes us believe that the government is complicit. I do not believe that any Muslim anywhere will feel associated with this element, with this.
Apart from Sheikh Ahmad Gumi, Barrister, we have also a Professor Usuf, a certain Professor Yusuf, who told the newly appointed Minister of Defense that he shouldn't go all out, in flushing out these elements. Rather, they should also employ the non-kinetic measure. And, in handling, he's already say, you don't think Muslims are in support of this. We've seen some of them come out to say, don't go all out. Don't use military might. And in the words of the Yusuf, he said, now, Christopher Musa, remember you're now a political elected official, appointed official, no longer a military personnel. So don't go all out with your fist on these bandits or elements we have in Nigeria.
No, I only mentioned Sheikh Gumi as an example. Him and all others of his like, all cohorts, all those who have the same views with him, that you must engage and discuss and negotiate with terrorists, should be dealt with. And the average Muslim on the street is peace loving. Islam, like they say, is a religion of peace. So those who terrorize in the name of Islam are not tolerated anywhere, even in the Islamic world, in the Arabian Peninsula, in Saudi, in UAE, in Kuwait. Those guys are slaughtered. So let those who claim they are in support of these terrorists in Nigeria, let them come out and let us see them.
Now, do you think the Nigerian
government
government will do anything to make sure we end the issue of terrorism, especially when, according to Goodluck Jonathan, when he was there, he said that in his cabinet he has some members of Boko Haram, group there, and also we've also learned from the former governor of Kaduna State that the government of the Kaduna State presently is more like negotiating with bandits to the tune of 1.something billion being spent on them. And we saw what was playing out with I think the State Minister for Defense, where people have been pointing him as someone who is in good book of this terrorist, to the likes of George Bello coming up to tell Nigerians that Matawale should not be arrested, but the former governor of Castina and Zamfara should go in. So do you think we're going to end the issue of attacks or banditry or terrorism, let me use the word now, in Nigeria anytime soon, even with the involvement of the United States of America?
Well, the thing is, attack on terrorists should continue until they are totally eliminated. When people like even Nasir El-Rufai begins to talk, you wonder what he's just trying to save his neck. We know what he even told Nigerians he did as a governor. Nasir El-Rufai publicly claimed that he went as far as Mali, Burkina Faso, to pay off terrorists who were coming to kill people in Southern Zaire. So he cannot now come and start changing. We know his characters. And even people like the current vice president, Kashim Shettima, it was in his house that Kabiru Sokoto was arrested. So let us not mince words. If it means anybody who is involved in terrorism, no matter how highly placed, must be brought to justice because they are criminals. And I'm not saying that the vice president is well, he's implicated. He is implicated. As governor of Borno State, what did he do? What was his role when Boko Haram was bombing and killing people? Now, what should be an eye-opener for Nigerians is this. When you see turbaning ceremonies, when you see wedding fatihas, where thousands of people gather, of the high and mighty, of those who are in bed with terrorists, you don't see them being bombed by these terrorists. Why? Because they know themselves. They only go for school children. If you are holding a wedding fatiha or you are holding a turbaning ceremony in the Emir's palace, in the Sultan's palace, and nothing happens, you begin to suspect that maybe nothing is happening because they know these terrorists. And we have now realized that indeed, the terrorists are on the payrolls of these governments.
All right.
So
thank you.
Enough of all these prevarications. Let the government come out frontally and destroy terrorists. And if Bola Ahmed Tinubu does not act accordingly, if he does not act well against terrorists, he will be treated as one in collusion with terrorists.
Thank you so much, Barisa Izaluche, for a submission. Let's get Mr. or Comrade Frank Ahioshin join the conversation. Comrade Frank Ahioshin, good morning and happy Boxing Day. Good time you join today's conversation. All right, without wasting much time, if you can hear me, I want you to, what's your opinion or your stand on the revelation made by the Bishop of Kotangora Diocese in Niger State that all of the kidnapped victims of St. Mary's Catholic School have been reunited with their family members. And we were also told that the governor himself, Bago, was there to make sure that, the process was also seamless. What do you make of this? And how is it, some Nigerians are asking, how possible is it for, the terrorists or the bandits to move such large number of children and also return them back to their parents without harm or injury or even any of them losing their lives? And what do you have to say about this, regarding the fight against terrorism and allegation of how some people are more like aiding and abetting with these terrorists because of their security votes?
Yeah, I can hear you quite. Hello?
I can hear you. If you can hear me, please, I'll need you to answer the question.
Yes, I can hear you quite. On the issue you raised, in my opinion, Nigeria, unfortunately, is not a serious state. In fighting terrorism, it actually falls within the purview of comedy of sorts. I think the only fortune we have that we can count on right now is that the US president has put his voice to it and further taking a step by ensuring that there's action to follow. Unfortunately, as wonderful as this may appear, the best we can get from these lines of intervention are simply temporary reliefs. Because no nation builds another. Nationhood is a responsibility of the collective. who have chosen to come together and pursue the cause of their interests as a whole, as a people. So no other country comes to build another one. The best America can do is what she's doing today, or what she did yesterday, and maybe they may do a few more. If Nigeria as a country does not employ the requisite discipline of nationhood to ensure that things work the way they ought, it will just be a case of moving from frying pan to fire within a short while. That is the truth. Look at our trajectory from 2009 till date, especially when the Boko Haram onslaught commenced quite. Go and check out the first budget. Every year there's monumental increase in the budget for defense. There now seems to be quite a proximate relationship between increase in defense budget and increase in security. Because increase in insecurity rather, not increase in security. Because insecurity is now a business in Nigeria. Up here is over 5 trillion. Go and check what the budget was. The last budget that Jonathan passed in his time. The budget for defense alone is about more than the budget of the whole country as at that time, barely a decade ago. How many Tucano jets in Nigeria buy? How many helicopters have been bought? The aircraft that the US used for those strikes, I can bet on the fact that they don't fall within or even close to the range of the Tucano jet that Nigeria spent billions of taxpayers' money to buy. It have made no impact. What is the point I'm making? The Bishop's viewpoint is wonderful. We must appreciate the fact that people are happy that they got their kids back, even if they've been held down in some states that could be described as hell for about a month. The fact that they are brought back is worth celebrating. Celebrating not that the government achieved anything. Celebrating not that the government rescued them, because they were not rescued. Something went on behind the scene. Obviously, the terrorists were settled. So it's not a case of government being in charge. What happened in Kosangoda is a case of government being conquered, government submitting to the whims and caprices of another government.
All right, Frank.
Because for anybody in any state, let me learn, please. For anybody in any state to exercise the force of violence, and government does not, as in, duly put that organization or person where it belongs, it only indicates the fact that there's another government. So those guys that did that in a sense like government of their own. Okay. In Nigeria today, I can tell you free of charge that we are talking in this program. These same guys can go and operate in 100 different schools, 100 different communities, and they will succeed.
Exactly the question I wanted to ask you, Mr. Frank Ehiosu. Now, we've been battling this insecurity for close to 2 decades now, as far as I know, more than 15 years. And it's been very difficult for us. You just mentioned how our security budgets keep increasing every other year. But America has stepped in graciously, as some Nigerians will describe it. Now, my question is, how long or how much longer do you think, or how long do you think it will take the United States of America, to clear these people? As we understand, they have also boasted that if you kill 10 of us, you have 100 more people that are ready to get into the fight. Do you think that it will get to a point where America will have to bring in troops in the northwest or in the northern part of this country, or any part of this country where insurgency, banditry seems to have taken root? Do you think it will get to that point? And what will be the implication of all of this for Nigeria as a country, in terms of our sovereignty, in terms of America having to probably get a base in Nigeria and all of that? How much longer do you think it will take us to take out insecurity in Nigeria?
First of all, when you say we have been battling it for so long a time, I want to change that narrative in a sense. Those of us who, to a large extent, are victims are the ones that I would say are battling it, not the government that we so elected who ought to have that responsibility. When viewed from the lens of the role of government, it's more of the business of insecurity. That is what has thrived in Nigeria. That is the truth. And that must be established. Now, on the US coming around and making any form of impact, like I emphasized earlier, I said the best that we can get from it is just temporary relief, maybe for a few days, for a few weeks. Even if America brings our soldiers to the ground to come and fight, were Americans not in Afghanistan for 20 years? Immediately they left, what happened? Even before they left, I emphasized something from the outset. in the history of the evolution of nation states, or nations as the case may apply, no nation builds another. Nationhood is the responsibility of those who have come together as a collective to define the course that they want to take. And Nigeria, as it is today, is actually unfortunately driven by factors that ensure that we are retarded or swimming in the pool of retardation rather than making progress. See, the source of this conflict, the feeding mechanism, is like a limitless bowl. Our governance and political culture ensures that there will be insecurity in Nigeria. So even if you go and bring angels from heaven to come and be the ones fighting, maybe to join the Americans, it will not change the narrative. If you take a cursory look at our history in insecurity, from independence till date, the first man that gave primacy to the concept of such insecurity that pertains to terrorism was Mohammed Mawa. The guy was not even a Nigerian. He's actually from Cameroon. He's from a village called Mawa in Cameroon. He was deported by emergency then in 1962. He was exiled from Nigeria. He came back a few years later after Nigeria had become a republic, and he continued with his onslaught. But because Nigeria, as at that time, still had some semblance of discipline that was required for proper nationhood, they were able to checkmate him and cut him on and on and on until 1980 when he was caught down finally. When the guy was killed, over 4,200 Nigerians were killed in one day. He told us when Nigerian soldiers and policemen came after him. Shagari was the president then, but our military was still very functional, not the politicized system we have today, where the battle against insecurity is more of a business more than carrying out the real function.
Okay.
So I dare say,
all right.
If you can hear me.
Yes, I can hear you. Land on your thought.
Yeah, I just say that as a collective, Nigeria as a country today is not serious. It's not even quite concerned about fighting insecurity as much as it ought to. Okay. Because what we call government in Nigeria is actually a ceremonial institution of people who are there fighting for themselves.
All right. Then.
We don't fall within the purview that Warman Liebman defined as public interest for real.
All right, then. Thank you very much, Mr. Frank Ehiosi. Now, let's go back to Barrister Eze Eluche. Mr. Eluche, Frank has said something that strikes me as, well, do we consider that as, do you think that Frank's position is that America is not going to solve the problem, that even if they come, it's going to persist? Do you share his sentiments? Do you agree with him?
Oh, certainly. I mean, and I can assure you that there will be no single American boots on the ground in Nigeria. There will be no single boot on the ground. And what they fired, they didn't even use jets. It was missiles that were fired from thousands of miles away, but they were targeted and programmed. So America will not send troops on the ground. What Nigerians need to do is to have a government, a people's-oriented government, as our rulers, and not characters who just stumble and all they're interested in is in the finances. It's in enriching themselves. That is the problem we have in this country for now. So I do not think there will be any difference. America will not come in on the ground. So we have to address this issue by ourselves. And the way to address it by ourselves is that when we feel pained enough with these terrorists, with the attacks going on, we make sure that we have in place a government that is people-oriented, that is put there by the people, and not guys who rig themselves in and get in there and all they want is money, money, money. That is the problem we have in Nigeria for now. So Nigerians, if you're interested in wiping away terrorism, if you're interested in having security, if you're interested in ensuring that your kids don't get kidnapped, when next you have elections, ensure that your votes count, and that any attempt at rigging it is an attempt to perpetuate the evil that is going on in the country for now.
When you say that the U.S. will not send in foot soldiers to come into the country, are you running out the fact that, no, Nigerians before now with the opinion that we're not going to see, the U.S. presence at all, even when Trump himself made the statement. So are you saying he might go back on his words? And also, what do you think the war against insecurity in Nigeria is moving towards, where we have the likes of Benjamin Netanyahu also making a statement in line with the killings in Nigeria that no country or no one is going to, turn a blind eye or a deaf ear to the cries of Nigerians over the incessant killing of terrorists. Are we seeing, other international bloc or maybe other countries now coming into Nigeria to help, exterminate the terrorists that are killing Nigerians?
Now, when they come in, like the US has already come in this instance now, did they have troops on the ground? No. But have they wiped out some terrorist elements? Yes. So what they need on ground is their firepower, not really the troops. Because if nobody wants to risk their soldiers or their armies for you people, for anybody, American troops will only go to fight for American wars. That is the new policy of the Trump administration. They will only go to fight where American interests are involved. Otherwise, they will use...
Do you think that this might get into, a war of attrition where the terrorists will just, lag, persist, do sporadic strikes here and there to wear out America and the Nigerian government, and the thing will last longer than expected? Do you think it will get to that point? Because it's also a war strategy for guerrilla warfare and all of that. They fight a war of attrition and let you wear out yourself.
I don't think so, because these terrorists, if indeed they are foreign elements, where would they stay? Where would they hide? Because already we see that up north, the northerners, in the Hausas, in Kebbi, Zamfara, are already fighting their wars by themselves. In the middle belt, the people are already picking up arms. In the southeast and southwest, there is no space for these terrorists. They can easily be fished out. So there's only war of attrition where the people, the population, the indigenous population are part of the terrorists. But in Nigeria, they are not. Most of these terrorists are foreign elements, either from Arabia, from the Tuaregs or the Fullers from across the West Africa, but they are not indigenous.
But they have a huge followership and some kind of sympathizers, in the north.
Well,
because when you try to hit them, you hear certain sort of people, opinion leaders in the north come and say, look, a strike against them is a strike against us, our people. Sympathies for them.
Yes. Now I assure you, their sympathizers, those enablers, those financiers will be fished out and eliminated. But the population is against terrorists. So people like those characters who keep on saying a strike against the Boko Haram is a strike against the North will be dealt with because they're terrorists.
All right.
I mean, despite whatever office they hold, and we have had some of them even as ministers who go to negotiate. People like Pantami, former Minister of Communication, these are ardent terror sympathizers. Those guys need to be fished out and dealt with. Okay. But does the Nigerian population, do they admit or do they condone terrorists? The answer is no. Like I told you, in the southeast, southwest, there is zero tolerance.
Okay.
Middle belt, zero tolerance. In the north, the Hausas are already fighting against them. So where will they hide?
All right.
So there is no war of attrition going to go on. Okay. This strike will eliminate terrorists, and that is the end of it.
All right. Thank you very much, Barrister Ezeluche. Now, we've been joined by Honorable Felix Pascal Pulevo. He's a public affairs analyst and political commentator. And he joins us from Taraba State, which is the northeast, but we understand that the strike took place in the northwest. So let's get a feel of what is going on in the north from Honorable Felix Pascal Pulevo. Good morning to you, Mr. Pulevo, and thanks for joining us on VOP this morning.
Thank you, Mr. Chikuma. It's my pleasure. Okay,
good to see you again. Happy Boxing Day.
Yeah, it's my pleasure. Thank you very much.
Okay, now we hear that there's been a strike, on ISIS targets by the United States of America somewhere in the northwest. Do you have that information? And what's going on in the north as we speak? Can you help us, gauge the pulse of the people in the north, especially where you are joining us from? Has the information filtered, and what is the response of the people?
Okay, thank you very much. Yesterday evening, almost yesterday night, those of us who are social media compliant saw it online, and then we began to feel the waves around in the community. So for us here in the north, when I woke up this morning, I spoke with 7 of my friends. 7 of my friends across Sokoto, Jigawa, Kebbi, Zamfara this morning to know what's the situation, and one was able to oblige me a video call self.
Okay.
And then he was able to show me how people were reacting to the situation.
Okay.
In my own little northeast here where we are, there is a little divide. Even if you check out the activities on social media, it was a good Christmas gift to the Christians. They have been jubilating and celebrating it. Some genuine and non-fanatical Muslims also commended it, who are not who are not sympathizers of the terrorists I've read a lot of commentaries from them. They have also commented that, and especially they commented the fact of the surprise nature of the attack. And just like the way some people have opined in the studio, if it is something that was earlier hinted, probably it would have failed. So, but people are happy, people feel more confident, people are excited that something like this is happening, and that people are feeling that we can take that breath of fresh air, that we can really live in this space in our country. That in fact is sad that there are a lot of religious fundamentalists who feel that probably is an attack on a particular religion, especially some of our Muslim friends and brothers. But like the video I watched, there are
exactly. I was coming to that. I wanted you to tell us what happened. How was it? How did the people feel from the video your friend obliged you?
Yes, when he was there on the street, there were some of them who were jubilating. In fact, there is one old man that was saying in Hausa that he can now freely go to his farm, that they have killed these hooligans that are affecting them and making them not to farm, that hunger wants to kill him at home. That they are happy that whoever is going to give them this peace, they will welcome it, even if it is America or any country of the world. So they are happy. These guys have held them hostage for years because the situation has been such that they live with these people in the community, sir. They are there. They move around with their guns and all, and then you are compelled not to give any hint or information to anybody. So much so that they know themselves very well, they control them, they sit with them in the market, they drink around with them, and all whatnot. And so if peradventure they get to hear that you have given out a hint to anybody, then they pounce on you, they just kill you and all that. In fact, they even ask people for monies before they are allowed to go to farm in some places. That is how sad the situation.
Are these Nigerians? Are you aware if they are Nigerians or foreigners now? Since they have known who they are, more like interact with them, relate to them. And are they Nigerians? Are they indigenes of those states? Or are we seeing foreign entities do that?
No, basically, most of these guys cover their faces even while they move around in the community. And Hausa is a language that is spoken beyond Nigeria or beyond northern Nigeria. So Hausa is spoken in Niger, in Mali, and some of these African countries that are our neighbors. They speak Hausa there because you still find the Hausa and Fulani people in some of those areas. They speak Hausa, but on a realistic note, you will know from their accent that some of them are not Nigerians. But then definitely there are a lot who are Nigerians. The sad situation is that I was privileged to be in Maiduguri as a 2009, 2010 when Boko Haram started. When this thing started, sir, it was a case of people shielding it. They knew some of those boys who were doing it, but they were now seeing it as if it was something like it was a fight. Maybe we are farmers that farm yam, and then these are boys that are trying to see that our yam is not stolen by others. So they didn't see that it was going to escalate to get to this point. They were looking at it as if they were young men who were coming up, trying to protect their faith, trying to ensure the enthronement of Sharia law or Islamic law in the parts of the country and all whatnot. But then over time, it took a different dimension because they were now killing randomly, they were killing indiscriminately, and not really going by some of those things, because their ultimate mindset is that when they get you, you find small children, they will tell, especially these Almajiri boys, they will not tell them there is you find somebody has been in this Almajiri system for up to 20 years of his life. He has grown in it. He didn't have the opportunity of Western education, only this one. So now they psych him and tell him that, look at that small boy that was born in that house. They used to go into the houses to beg for food. That look at that small boy that was just born yesterday while you were already grown up. Today, he has come back from the US, or he has finished university within the country. He is driving a car and all whatnot. And you that is his senior, you that is his elder person, you are eating from scraps that fall from their table. That is this a fair system? That your age and whatsoever is not considered and all whatnot. And because they are limited in this Western education, they easily, because they are gullible, they easily give in to this kind of things and then now say that this Western education is bad because it is not fair, it is not just, it is just for some few persons. And then people are indoctrinated and they keep fighting and killing people indiscriminately.
As
So
a
I think
Northerner, can you
Yes.
say it's justifiable for such to go out? We know that in the North, some people even enjoy free education. Some people are being paid to go to school, but yet we see the likes of the Boko Haram, coming up to say that Western education is haram, that people shouldn't indulge in it. So is it justifiable now for such to make it to the table? Because the likes of Sheikh Ahmad Gumi was also suggesting that Nigerian government should find them a suitable education that will also align with their level of understanding, more like going for Islamization. But they are already, being forced or asked to get themselves enrolled in education. In Kano State, for example, have Kwankwa Sudan, have so many schools, the Kwankwa Sia movement, they have all education, even food will be made available. The likes of Goodluck Jonathan also provided schools for them. The former governor of Imo State, in the person of Rocha Zokorocha, built many Araman general schools for them to go and get Western education. But it's more like they turn their back towards that. Is it justifiable now for us to say the discrepancies we have in social stratification is what enabled them to pick up arms and start killing people?
It's not justifiable because just the way you said, it's not like they were denied the opportunity. I know a lot of states who have been doing wonderfully well. Even back then, when I got admission, I was in the university. So states like Yobe State, for example, once you pick up admission, if you are admitted to go and study in the university, irrespective of your department or the course you are going to study, as at then, I don't know if it is still running, you will go to their scholarship board and you pick up a state government appointment. So I had some of my colleagues, especially those who are in engineering, and the medical college and all, that were collecting. Automatically you become a civil servant, level 7 in the state government. And then they were the ones rather sending money home. And all these things were put in place by the government to encourage people to go to school. So the government in its own way have put up these measures. In a lot of our northern states today, education is free. In Taraba State, education is free. In Adamawa State, is free education, from primary down to secondary school. The tuition in the universities, especially in the state-owned universities, have been subsidized.
Right.
Like in Taraba, it's by 50%. So you don't have a reason for some of these kind of things.
Okay.
But unfortunately, and we are hoping that with some of these measures now, the president is really realizing some of the challenges, and we, unfortunately and respectfully, people like Sheikh Gumi, should be behind bars or, in DSS custody for questioning as we discuss this kind of things.
All right.
Because
Thank you so much.
truly, we shouldn't be having persons revered of his status coming out, to the public, making some of these kind of statements he is making. Those kind of things are decisive, and it clearly people that are collaborated to the whole situation. Because it's like he knows a lot. So we need to call him and ask him a lot of questions.
Thank you so much, Honorable Felix Pascal Polevo. Thank you for your submission. Let's bring it to the studio before we move over to the next topic of conversation. Talking about Sheikh Ahmad Gumi, Mr. Somi Oranta, Sheikh Gumi called on the president to halt U.S. military, cooperation and the bombardments happening in Nigeria. He just called the president to say, cease or halt all cooperation with the U.S. and carrying out the bombardment in some states in Nigeria. What do you have to say to that, please?
Well, the U.S. do not need Nigeria's cooperation to act. If a nation, we are living in a global village. If any nation state decides to become a terrorist enclave, it behoves of the civilized world. America is the policeman of the universe. For them to go in and take care of this situation, ensure that there's no festering ground for terrorism. Because if you allow it to hibernate in Nigeria to develop and grow wings and all that, when it is perfectly matured, they will export it to the whole world. So that's why they will not allow it. They do not need Nigeria's cooperation. It is good that Nigeria is cooperating with them, but they do not need Nigeria's cooperation. And now that Israel is also interested in the matter, anywhere terrorism festers in the world, they have a duty to stop it. Because these people are not human beings. They are not. Because they look out for that's the most deadliest way and most creative, in the negative, ways of exterminating their fellow human beings. And I listen to what people are saying here. Some other analysts are saying. You cannot tell a man, you cannot promote education when you say that education, Western education is haram. Meanwhile, everything they use, all the gadgets they use are Western. They are Western technology they are using. And they are blindfolding their people and telling them not to go to school. Okay, how will you promote education more than the way they are doing it in the North? Even if when you want to go to public schools, unity schools in Nigeria, those from the North, you need 100 and something points to go to get admission. But some states in the North, you need only 5, 10, 20, 40 points. That is the areas where they have tried everything. If you want to get admission, the moment you get, he told us here that you are giving money, you are paid to go to school.
All right, Mr. Ranta, this United States involvement, now how do you think it's going to impact the 2027 general election?
Well, it depends on how the government, their level of responsiveness and cooperation. But I think it is, I see an ominous sign, because the president seems to be tied to some certain people. Because you cannot tell me that the Minister of State for Defense, who has been accused by several, stakeholders, people who knows that this man is a sympathizer and enabler of terrorism, and is still there.
Okay.
You cannot tell me that the NSA himself, the highest advisory body that takes care of all the military architecture in Nigeria, will arm terrorists to defend Nigerians.
And still be in government.
And still be in government.
All right.
So, and then you will not tell me that with all this release, adoption and releases, without any explanation, we may not know what transpired, but the Americans know. The international community, at that level, they know.
And Nigerians are watching and seeing what's going on.
So 2027 election is going to be very, very hot.
It's going to be very, very hot. All right, thank you very much, Mr. Samir Ranta. Now let's go back to Barrister Eze Eluche, if he's still with us, and get his concluding thoughts on this before we move into the next topic of discussion.
Well, I mean, it's good that the government of Nigeria is aware that there is greater international attention on how it treats terrorism issues, genocide against Christian issues. And I hope this government will sit up now, because for quite a long time they have taken it as one of those things and focused more on taxation and extorting money from Nigerians, whilst the primary focus of government should be the security of its citizens. So hopefully this will be a wake-up call. And if it's a wake-up call and the government begins to do what it should do, with itself of those who are terrorists amongst its members, no matter how highly placed, then perhaps we may begin to change our views on the government of Bola Tinubu. But as long as it continues on this trajectory, as long as it continues to keep on releasing detains, kidnapped people without telling us how it will happen, without any arrest, Nigerians will forever believe that this government of Bola Tinubu is in bed with terrorists.
All right, then. Thank you very much, Barrister Eze Eluche. We must have to say a very big thank you to you once again. Barrister Eze is an attorney at law and political affairs analyst. Thanks for being part of this conversation. Now, we go for a short break, and when we return, we'll still have Mr. Somi Uranta and Mr. Frank Houston, who joined us from Benin City, and Mr. Uranta, who is with us in the studio. When we return, Senator Ndume urges President Tinubu to suspend January 2026 implementation of new tax laws. Join us again, we'll be right back.